After the earlier negotiations settled down, Emperor Akira returned to his quarters to take stomach medicine, leaving Velgrind to continue her diplomatic duties. The final delegation to arrive was from China. With her mood composed again, Velgrind greeted the President of the People's Republic with her usual dignified posture. President Wang Longren immediately displayed open hostility. Although Velgrind looked human, he accused her of being a demon impersonating Ryuo, the legendary dragon phoenix revered in their martial arts tradition. His outburst was rooted in a deep cultural misunderstanding. The Chinese believed that Ryuo was a sacred figure who once guided the founder of Dragon Fist, their most prestigious martial art. To them, Velgrind using that name was blasphemy. Velgrind, tired of being misunderstood repeatedly, chose silent patience. At Wang's signal, the Chinese guards formed a battle circle around her. These warriors were elite practitioners of Dragon Fist, an art originally founded by a martial artist named Long, who is actually Rudra's past life, and was assisted by Velgrind in the distant past. Ironically, they were furious at the very deity their school unknowingly worshipped. The Empire's ministers simply watched in silence. They already knew that only a sound defeat would clear these misunderstandings. Velgrind, meanwhile, regarded the Dragon Fist warriors with the affectionate gaze of a teacher looking at students. She could sense Long's legacy in them. Before the warriors could attack together, a young girl stepped forward and stopped them. This was Xianhua, the Fist Saint, the strongest martial artist in the world, possessing over 100,000 EP. Calm yet visibly tense, she declared that she alone would challenge Velgrind. The duel ended swiftly. To the observers, it looked like Xianhua relentlessly pressured Velgrind. But in truth, Velgrind never even treated it as a fight. Xianhua, inheritor of the Dragon Fist's forbidden ritual of spirit transmission, had fused the fighting spirit of generations of masters into herself. Her existence value surpassed that of ordinary humans and bordered on the level of immortals in Velgrind's original world. Yet even so, she couldn't land a meaningful blow. Having tasted absolute defeat, Xianhua accepted Velgrind's identity without hesitation. Velgrind, in turn, was deeply moved. Her beloved Long's teachings had endured and flourished beautifully. Knowing that his disciples had become so exceptional filled her with pride. She happily acknowledged that Xianhua was stronger than Gensei and would likely surpass Kondo as well. Pleased and sentimental, Velgrind was even willing to bless the Dragon Fist successors with one, or even two, mythical-grade weapons, purely out of affection for the legacy they carried. Once all the misunderstandings had been cleared up, the 5 world leaders finally gathered for a formal meeting. During their discussion, the truth behind the recent global chaos became clear. Phantoms had spent weeks manipulating every major nation into conflict. In China, the Phantoms began by targeting the children of high-ranking officials. Through long-term infiltration, possessing teachers, co-workers, relatives, they brainwashed and replaced people close to the leadership. Eventually, nearly 70% of the upper chain of command had been compromised, pushing China into approving the invasion of the United States of Azalia. At the same time, Emperor Magellan of Roaziam had been provoked into invading China, while Yang of Asia was manipulated into counter-invading Roaziam. The leaders, now finally aware of the scope of the Phantom's interference, expressed remorse and apologized to one another. None of them had ever wished for war, yet each nation had been forced into it under demonic influence. With their grievances resolved, the leaders moved on to planning a unified counteroffensive. As agreed from the start, Velgrind would offer limited support, just enough to tip the balance. The true responsibility would lie with humanity itself. If the nations showed no willingness to stand together, Velgrind was fully prepared to abandon this world altogether, taking only Akira and George with her to another realm. Fortunately, the nations agreed to cooperate wholeheartedly. They understood that conventional armies were useless. Sheer numbers could not overwhelm the Phantoms. Instead, each country selected its strongest elites to form the core of the counterattack unit. Their final objective was clear: eradicate the Phantoms and close the underworld gates. From the United States of Azalia, George nominated Billy, the head of the Secret Service. Though only 28, Billy was an experienced fighter who combined magic with a uniquely powerful firearm. From the Empire came Gensei and Minamoto. From China came the Fist Saint Xianhua. From Asia, 6 of the 7 sacred vessels joined the mission. As an act of support, Velgrind upgraded Minamoto's sword and Billy's revolver to mythical-grade weapons, a tremendous boost. A warrior capable of fully unlocking a mythical weapon's potential could gain over 1 million EP, as seen in the slime world. However, the limitations of this world became immediately apparent. Only Xianhua possessed the talent to draw out any significant portion of a mythical weapon's power. Pride, the leader of the 7 sacred vessels, could barely access 3% of his weapon's true strength, while the others managed only 1 to 2%. Still, even this small increase was far better than nothing. These elites represented humanity's strongest hope. Fully mastering their new weapons could one day allow them to awaken as spirit life-form beings and challenge the upper phantoms head-on. But for now, the mythical artifacts, originally designed for Shin's bloodline, could only provide a fraction of their full power. Even so, Velgrind was satisfied. Humanity had chosen to fight rather than cower behind her strength, and with their resolve proven, the stage was finally set. The great counterattack against the Phantom race was ready to begin. After completing their strategic discussions and final preparations, humanity's counteroffensive against the Phantom race officially began. At the same time, the Phantoms finally noticed that the leaders of all 4 major nations had vanished without a trace. This immediately raised suspicion in Masahiko, a far more cautious and thoughtful commander than the other arrogant Phantom officers. He quickly deduced that the humans must be preparing a coordinated counterattack. Among the 4 human nations, the Empire stood out the most. Until now, it had remained strangely undisturbed, not because the Phantoms were ignoring it, but because its defensive perimeter was so tightly secured that infiltration was nearly impossible. Recognizing this anomaly, Masahiko ordered all commanding officers to retreat to Atlantis for an emergency strategy conference. While retreating, Masahiko fell into deep thought, an unusual behavior for a Phantom of his rank. Phantoms, after all, were originally mutated angels created to obey the Seraphim. Though the mutation had granted them individual egos, those egos were extremely fragile. For this reason, Phantoms would usually possess human bodies. Doing so allowed them to exist in the physical world, grow more efficiently, and inherit selective memories such as social status, skills, and personal connections. However, day-to-day memories, especially conversations, were too numerous and were usually discarded. This flaw was the reason Emily's possessor could not remember Velgrind. In the human memories he had absorbed, she existed only as the vague name Velgrind-chan. Had the Phantoms known who Velgrind truly was, they would have drastically altered their entire invasion strategy. It was one of their greatest oversights. Yet human possession had another hidden danger. Humans possessed free will and an exceptionally strong mental core, stronger than the Phantoms had ever anticipated. Even Masahiko, the second highest commander under Cornu, was now experiencing internal conflict. The human will within his vessel was slowly pushing back, eroding his demonic ego. This growing instability caused Masahiko to question his own existence and even consider betraying the Phantom race entirely. At moments, he found himself imagining a future where he destroyed the Underworld Gate, eliminated the Phantom race's dominance, and allowed himself and Pulcinella to rule the world instead. As these conflicting thoughts ate away at him, the other Phantom commanders teleported back to base and appeared before Masahiko, ready to report on the situation. As the group discussed their upcoming plans, Masahiko still couldn't shake off a growing sense of unease. To verify his intuition, he ordered all commanders to dig into the human memories they inherited and confirm whether there were any hidden leaders or powerful individuals still remaining in this world. Li Qianlong, who originated from China, replied that only Xianhua posed any real threat. She had mastered Dragon Fist, a martial art unknown to the rest of the world, and had grown exceptionally strong because of it. This immediately piqued Masahiko's curiosity about the origins of such a technique. According to Li Qianlong, the Dragon Fist was said to have been created under the guidance of a mysterious woman known as the Dragon Phoenix Ryuo. However, this information came only from oral tradition and lacked concrete evidence. Yet this very vagueness made Masahiko's unease deepen. At that moment, Delia, once one of the 7 holy treasures of Archaea, added that her homeland also had a myth about a goddess named Caldina, a name associated with crimson. Drawing from his knowledge of the true dragons, Masahiko immediately connected this nickname with Velgrind, the Scorched Dragon, who often referred to herself using a crimson-based title. But that made no sense. Velgrind was supposed to be in the Cardinal World, constantly at Emperor Rudra's side, and therefore had no reason or possibility to appear in this world. However, Delia then revealed a critical piece of evidence: her own sacred spear, said to be a divine artifact created by that very goddess. The moment everyone realized that even a high-ranking demon like Delia was unable to draw out its power, the truth became undeniable. This weapon was mythical grade, something that should not exist in a magic-scarce world like this. Piece by piece, the Dragon Phoenix legend, the myth of Caldina, and the existence of a mythical artifact, the coincidences piled up too neatly. Masahiko could no longer dismiss the possibility. Velgrind might actually be present in this world. When he finally muttered, "I never thought Velgrind would be in this world," the shocking revelation triggered a chain of events that pushed the entire demon faction into a situation from which they could no longer retreat. And the video ends here. Let's follow the rest of the story in the next video. Thank you for listening, goodbye, and see you in the next video.